welcome to Review the Light. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Nitecore SRT7 Revenger. Really quick, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and click on this link right up here and you can keep up to date on all the newest videos. So the SRT7 Revenger is the largest light in Nitecore's SRT series. The SRT series stands for Smart Ring Technology, and they're all controlled by this magnetic control ring here near the head. The SRT7 runs off of a single 18650 battery. You can see it's got a pretty large head and wide reflector. It's got the largest head of any of the SRT series. So you can see when we look in the head there, it's got a XML2 emitter, and it also has three smaller emitters that are the multicolor red, green, and blue emitters. So this is the other thing about the SRT series is the Smart Ring not only controls infinitely variable brightness over a range, but it also controls these multicolor emitters. So in some of the smaller models, the multicolor emitters are just red and blue. In the SRT7, they're actually red, blue, and green, so we'll take a look at that in a moment. But you can see it's got a smooth reflector here. That's going to maximize the throw with some you can see there's variations in the reflector, and just by the position of the multicolor emitters, you can see they're kind of set into holes in the reflector there. The beam's not going to be perfectly smooth, but it's actually pretty nice overall, and you'll see that in the video later. Except for obviously on the beams for the multicolor emitters, it's pretty ringy in places, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. Taking a look at the light, you can see the fairly large head, like I mentioned. There are no heat dissipation fins, Nitecore has built in that on turbo mode on the max brightness, it'll step down after a few minutes, and you can just turn the light off and back on again to get it to step back up if you need the max brightness again, but that feature is to help prevent it from overheating. You can see we've got a battery voltage indication light here. It just blinks red on occasion. This light will blink red when the light is at standby, so if you clicked on with the tail switch but you're in standby mode with the ring, the main emitters will all be off, but this little light will blink as kind of a locator beacon, and also just to let you know you're in standby so you don't waste your battery accidentally. It's a pretty slow battery drain, but it will drain the battery if you leave it in standby for a long time. So you can see there's these places to grip the head, which is nice. The control ring here rotates very smoothly, and it has indentations at the different positions for different outputs, and we'll take a look at those in a minute, except for over the infinitely variable range where it just rotates smoothly with no indentations until you get to either end. And then it has a couple more indentations that it kind of clicks into position for. The body, you can see, has these sets of knurling. It's got the Nitecore name on one side there on the website. On the other side, it's got the model number and the model name. You can see the tail has a little bit of knurling on it as well, and has this cutout pattern. So it can do a tail stand. It's not extremely stable because it's got these 2 points that it stands on. It can do it, but like I said, it's not super stable, so don't expect it to resist a bump. You can see the Nitecore N here on their rubber tail cap switch. That's their standard tail cap switch cover. And it's a forward click switch, so when you press it halfway it turns the light momentarily on, and when you press it all the way it clicks in constant on. We'll take a look inside. It unscrews here the tail in one spot. You can see the anodized threads there, except for at the very end. So if you unscrew the tail cap a little bit, it has a mechanical lockout, so even if the switch gets bumped in your bag or something, it won't turn on until you tighten the tail cap. You can see there it's got a spring in the tail cap to help make a connection with the battery. And we'll take a look at the other end of the battery tube. As I mentioned, it takes a single 18650 lithium-ion battery, or else it can also take two CR123 lithium batteries. And here you can see in the head, these threads obviously not anodized, so if the head's a little bit loose, the light will still turn on and off. And there's the battery. And you can see it has Nitecore's standard mechanical reverse polarity protection, so you can see the positive terminal for the battery to make connection with here is actually recessed a little bit inside of beyond this plastic ring, so you actually need a battery with a little bit of a protrusion on the top in order to make contact with that. That ensures that if you were to insert the battery backwards on accident, there's no protrusion here on the negative end, so it wouldn't be able to make electrical connection. It won't be able to damage your light. But it also means that you have to make sure you can't use any flat top batteries with this. Now, this one's a little bit different than other Nitecore lights I've seen, in that the reverse polarity protector here is mounted on a spring. So now you've got that springiness there, so it really helps protect your battery in the event of dropping the light. You've got that spring in there to have a little bit of a cushion. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. We'll see what mode we're in here. So we're in the infinitely variable range. So now I turned it on with the tail cap, and I'll demonstrate the momentary on. If I just hold it down a little bit, it'll stay on until I release, or if I click it into position, it'll stay on until I click it again. Here we have the infinitely variable range. You can see as I move down to the minimum brightness here, it gets very dim. There's the minimum brightness, and then I can increase it. It gets brighter. And it does look pretty blue here in the video just due to my white balance settings on my camera, but in real life it's just a clean white beam. And you can see it's got a fairly well-defined spot, and you can a little bit see some of the defects in the beam caused by the other emitters, but it's really not very noticeable as soon as you get very far away. So there's that. And then here I'm in the standby mode, so you can see all the emitters are off, but this little light on the head is going to blink every 2 seconds, act as kind of a locator like I mentioned, and also so you don't forget that you have it in standby. This light also starts blinking if you have the light on and the battery reaches 50%, or if it gets even lower. At 50% it'll start blinking like this. If it gets even lower to where it's time to change the battery, it'll start blinking rapidly. This is your low battery indicator. So out of the standby mode, here the next mode, if I'm turning counterclockwise, is red. And you can see it is a fairly ringy beam pattern. It's because those are set up in the edge of the reflector and not down there, but you can see all those turned red. Green is the next if you keep going counterclockwise, and then blue. Then you've got this red and blue strobe. And the next mode is, you can see a locator flash, so it's like a quick flash every couple of seconds. And that's the ending position counterclockwise, so we'll give you a look at the emitters as we go from, here's the red and blue strobe, the blue, the green, and the red. The standby. And we have the infinitely variable brightness, and then if we keep going past the detent for the maximum brightness, we get into the fast strobe here. And that looks a little funny on my camera, but it's just a really fast strobe. And that's the last position in the clockwise direction. So that is the action of the control ring. Like I mentioned, there's detents for each of those positions, except for across the infinitely variable range, it's all smooth. So this has been the indoor intro to the SRT7. Stick around for a minute and we will take it outside. Hello and welcome back to Review the Light. We've got the Nitecore SRT7 Revenger here in the backyard at night, so we're going to give it a shot. I'll go ahead and turn it on. We've got it here somewhere within the range of infinitely variable steady wide output. If you remember, it's got the control ring that takes it through all of its modes. So we'll start at the far left. This is the flashing beacon. You can see it's just got every few moments steady white flash. Then here's the red and blue strobe, and I'll do that on my hand so you can see it really well there. And I'll even, if I can, because I'm not sure it can show up that far on the camera, you might be able to see it on the ground there again, but here's my hand, you can see the red and blue strobe. The brightness of the camera might not be able to show that really well, but we'll see. So there's that, and then here's the steady blue mode. That shows up a little bit better. And again, I'll just show it up here, close on the ground and on my hand. There's the steady blue. So you got the green next. There it is on my hand and on the grass. Obviously the green shows up better on the grass than some of the other colors. And the red, probably going to be the hardest to see, but you might be able to see the reflection in the window over there. And again, here's the red on my hand. On the grass up close, obviously the grass isn't going to reflect a lot of red light. But those are the three color modes. And then here we are in the standby, so just so you can get an idea of it here. That little red blinking light about every 2 seconds is the standby indicator, so that you don't forget you've got it on. It also acts as a good beacon for just inside your room or something like that at night, so you can see it quickly. So that's a good feature. But from there, I'm going to start increasing the brightness slowly. You'll see the spot appear over there. There we are at the maximum brightness. So you can see it's got a good tight spot in the middle, smooth fade out to about average beam width there. Just shine it around on a few things. Here you can see it on the tree above the yard up there. You can even see the tree back behind the garage pretty well. It casts a good spot. In real life I can see pretty much that whole tree, tell if anything would be moving in it or hiding in it or anything like that. That's a useful feature. And let's shine it up close so you see what that's like there. And you can see there's a little bit of edge to the beam, a little bit of ring around the edge of the beam there. You can't really notice it when you're shining it out and looking away, but if you're up close you can see this little bit of a ring there. So then we'll turn it back down a little bit just so you get an idea of the low output. So here on my hand and on the grass you see, okay, when it just barely turns on, this is about how bright it is. And I can see my hand really well. I can see the spot on the grass, and I can kind of see the flood area in real life. If it were pitch dark out here, that flood would probably be plenty for me to see around by. And then we'll just increase it slowly again, and you can just see a large brightness range there. And then past the maximum brightness is the fast strobe, which is probably going to look a little funny on my camera due to this. It's a very fast strobe. My camera can't quite do it justice. So again, we'll just run through all the modes. So we got the slow beacon here, a blue and red strobe, blue, green, red. The standby with its red flashing beacon that also acts as a low voltage indicator like I mentioned, and then the minimum brightness, infinitely variable up to the maximum, and the fast strobe. So this has been an outdoor look at the SRT7 Revenger by Nitecore. Again, make sure if you haven't yet subscribed that you go ahead and click on this link that's right up here, and that way you can keep up with the latest Review the Light videos. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.